Hey guys, welcome to Module 4. Now this week we're going to be dealing with the media and how the media has the ability to impact the criminal justice system, which includes law enforcement, uh, through their reporting and in turn biased reporting. All right, so what we're going to have you do for the writing assignment this week is we're going to have you take a look at one of four criminal cases. And what we're going to be looking at is the role the media played in this criminal case. And each of these cases is unique and has its own issues in terms of why it would garner this type of media attention. Because consider the number of cases, that police investigate each year: homicides, rapes, serious crime, and yet only a handful probably ever reach the national level, and few reach the state level. In other words, it's sort of broadcast throughout the state. Now, some states are obviously smaller than others, but nonetheless, it takes something for a case to get the media's attention. So there's usually some other connection, and you'll see what I mean when I briefly highlight some of these cases for us, okay? So again, we're going to be researching one of four cases, and these are the four cases. Case of Willie Horton, Pamela Smart, Dominic Sinelli, and George Zimmerman. So you may be familiar with some of these depending on where you live. But again, I'm going to highlight some of these briefly in a short little lecture after I get done talking about the assignment guidelines, okay? So again, you're going to select one of these cases, and once you select that case, then in 75 to 100 words, you're going to craft a brief summary of that criminal case in which the media has had an impact. So you're going to describe the pertinent facts and the legal points of the case, and then describe who was involved and where the case took place. So you're going to have to do a little bit of historical research on some of these, because some of these occurred in the 1980s and 1990s, okay? So just know that. But the cases are very interesting. Following that, then you're going to have to, in 100 to 150 words, explain how the media may have influenced the public's perception. So what role did the media take in shaping the public's opinion and perception about a particular criminal event? So you're going to describe any actions by the public that may have been a result of the media's influence. You're going to explain the role the media may have played in the public's perception of the criminal justice professionals involved in the case and or practices related to the case. Because some of these cases involve parole, for example. And in those particular states, the parole agencies came under considerable scrutiny after somebody was released and then went out and committed a heinous crime. So you'll see that here in just a minute in my summary. But again, you're going to be looking and making sure that you address each of these subtitles here under these major critical elements. So a brief summary of the criminal case, and then you have two things you have to include, and then you're going to describe or explain how the media may have influenced the public's perception, okay? So again, pay attention to the number of words required for the assignment for each of the critical elements, so you make sure you meet that minimum threshold in your response. All right. Now, this assignment should be submitted using the Module 4 assignment template Word document. So I encourage you to use this template. I think you'll find it easier. And as we get going further, you'll be able to apply this a lot better to upcoming assignments, of which this is going to be part of. All right. So one of the things important about this one here is this case, in other words, the case that you select here, will be the basis for both this assignment and Project 3, which is due in Module 7. All right, so again, pay attention to the fact that whoever you select this week is also going to be the case that you use in Module 7. All right, so just keep that in mind as we move forward, okay? Again, the ratings are exemplary, proficient, needs improvement, not evident. And again, to get an exemplary rating, you're going to need to show evidence of research, and you're going to have to do some research on these cases because odds are you're not intimately familiar with them. So you're going to have to do some research either through the resources or online research independent of some of the modular resources that are offered this week. And I'll show you what I mean by that here in just a minute. Okay, so here's a grading rubric as before. So again, in order to earn credit for citations and attributions, you're going to have to cite and reference the source. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to earn those 5 points. And those 5 points can be considerably valuable in the overall scheme of the assignment. All right, so this is a pretty straightforward assignment. Okay, one of the things here to consider, and you should review this, and I've also posted this in my announcement, is this Project 3 Case Resource PDF. In fact, I'll call that up right now, so hold on one second. Okay, so here's that modular resource, and I've also posted this, as I said, in my Module 4 announcement. But this has the 3 cases, and then it has some addition. It has resources already outlined for you here. Some are reading resources, some are videos. So be familiar with your case and understand the underlying interest. In other words, what is it about this case that drew the media's attention? Okay, because I said before, there are hundreds and thousands of cases that occur, yearly, monthly, in all types of jurisdictions that never garner the type of attention that some of these cases have received. All right, so these are some of the resources. Obviously, you can do your own research if you want, but this can be found in the modular resources associated with this assignment, and then also on the assignment guidelines. Okay. Okay, so I just want to spend just a few minutes here going over these cases, just briefly, just so you can have a sense of the flavor of these cases in case you're not familiar with them and you want to know which case might be of interest to you. All right. So remember, it has to be one of these 4 cases: William Horton, Willie Horton, Pamela Smart, Dominic Cinelli, and George Zimmerman. Okay, briefly, Willie Horton. This occurred back in the mid-1980s in Massachusetts. Willie Horton was an inmate. He was imprisoned for first-degree murder, and at the time, Governor Michael Dukakis had a furlough program, and for whatever reason, the state felt that Willie Horton met the criteria to be furloughed. In other words, you're allowed to leave the institution for a day and come back. Unfortunately, on one of his trips out, he never came back, and he committed a rape and assault, held a couple hostage in Maryland. That garnered all type of media coverage, only because, from an historical perspective, you may not remember, but Michael Dukakis in 1988 was the Democratic presidential nominee, and he ran against George Herbert Walker Bush for president. And this became a really hot topic in the debates and in the campaign. All right, so that's a little bit about Willie Horton. Next is Pamela Smart. Now, this is the New Hampshire case in the early 1990s. She was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder. Her husband was the victim. She worked at a local high school, apparently developed a sexual relationship with a student, and then theory is that she persuaded this male high school student, which she was having an affair with, to kill her husband. All right, so that's Pamela Smart case. It's obviously got all the juicy topics that we look for in some type of news story. The interesting thing, obviously, about Pamela Smart is that she's a woman, and we don't have too many women engaged in this type of activity. So that, and the fact that it had underage boys involved, sexual innuendos, whatever the case is, this case garnered considerable attention. Dominic Cinelli is another Massachusetts case. Dominic was released on parole despite serving 3 concurrent life sentences for murder. So he killed 3 people at some point and received a concurrent life sentence. However, he was paroled. And following his parole, he subsequently was involved in a robbery and killed a local police officer in Woodburn, Massachusetts. So this story gained all type of attention from the media, especially regarding the parole board, releasing inmates, public safety, you name it. It was all wrapped up into this case. So that's a little bit about Dominic Cinelli. Finally, George Zimmerman. Now, many of you may be familiar with George Zimmerman. Again, this is a Florida case, 2012, involving a kid by the name of Trayvon Martin, who was walking through his neighborhood. He confronted him. A scuffle ensued, and George Zimmerman said he feared for his life, and so he shot and killed Trayvon Martin. A couple of issues that were raised in this case is the Florida Stand Your Ground law, which is not that uncommon in some states. Some states have castle doctrines. Florida has a stand your ground law. Okay, and then the issue of racism started popping up. This is probably one of the first cases that came up where racism was significantly addressed and an issue covered by the press. So that's the George Zimmerman case. So again, many of you know George Zimmerman, the case itself, because it's relatively contemporary. Okay, so those are your cases. Willie Horton, Pamela Smart, Dominic Cinelli, or George Zimmerman. All right, and just in closing, again, you should demonstrate evidence of research in your assignment, cite and reference your sources using APA style. Okay, so this assignment is pretty straightforward. I think you'll find it interesting once you start digging into these cases. And again, be asking yourself questions. Why is it that the media has such an interest in this case? What is it? And how did that influence not only public perception, but did it change public policy? Did it influence changes in the criminal justice system? Okay, that's it, guys. Have a great week. And we are at module 4, so we're halfway there. Hang in there, guys. You're doing a great job. Talk to you later. Bye.